Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we're back to the Lord of the Rings adventure card game. So we have gone through one quest in the tutorial, and it took us about an hour to get that far. And we've gotten a lot of achievements already from just doing the tutorial. Now we're moving on to the next quest, Something in the Trees. Pause now if you want to read this intro, and Golem is showing up. Opening a reward. That's not a very satisfactory reward opening sequence. No explosions, no sound effects. We're just looking into a orb. Is this Sauron the Grey or Sauron the White, one of the wizards peering in on us? Seems like they've given us a battle deck as a reward, but we can't seemingly look at the battle deck. And it doesn't seem like we're going to get any fellowship points to unlock skins in the tutorial. At least this time. So that was Core Concepts Tutorial 1. I thought it was going to go further than what it did, but it seems to really just ended after that first quest, even though there was some dialogue there. We have to go all the way back up here, I guess, to see this new pre-built deck that we've unlocked, which would be all of these cards, and then there's just, you just have to, I guess, look at it. Yeah, the problem with this is this part of the deck builder doesn't seem like it has any connection to a pre-built deck that's locked. It's just if you were building your own deck. So I can't even really show off the deck particularly well. I can click here and then you can see the text of the name of the cards. And that's about it. So what we're going to do, double click there, not click on that one, click here, and so we're going to do Advanced Concepts on standard difficulty. I don't see a reason to play at any higher difficulty, although in all fairness that first tutorial could have been a little bit more difficult. And then we get probably another deck as a reward. But before I click start, I'm going to actually pause the recording and then I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I wanted to make sure I was fully set up since the last tutorial took about an hour. I didn't want to take a long break in between this one. We're going to learn advanced gameplay concepts, which I kind of question how many advanced gameplay concepts really will be in this game, but there is definitely a lot of room for advanced concepts in that Sauron and the quest you're given could be anything at all. So if there is a quest requirement that's like have 5 different heroes on the field of a certain character type, that's believable.
Having dispatched the spiders, Arwen and led Bilbo back to the old forest road.
I thank you, my friends, for rescuing a lost old hobbit.
He said.
What's this talk of being lost?
Called a voice from up the trail.
Glowing!
Bilbo cried with joy. It was he at last.
Hello, my old friend!
Glowing gestured out to the companion at his side.
This is my son, Gimli, who has traveled from the lonely mountain.
The younger dwarf nodded to Bilbo, but eyed the elves warily.
Well met.
Came his gruff response. Arwen nodded in respect to both dwarves.
With Bilbo in the charge of these strong companions, we shall take our leave. We have business elsewhere, and a meeting of our own to keep.
Bilbo was sad to see the elves go, as he much liked their presence. But he was eager to relive old tales over food and drink glowing beyond hearth. The elves departed silently into the woods, while Bilbo and the dwarves made down the forest path.
Now I assume that these are stories, excerpts from like the first very beginning chapter of Lord of the Rings, and that they aren't telling narratives around the Hobbit. If I recall correctly, the Lord of the Rings book was written first, then the Hobbit was published as a prequel, so even though chronologically it occurs first. And then it definitely seems like there were different licensing rights between The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, and the unfinished book that Tolkien wrote after Lord of the Rings before he died, or was writing before he died. I think it's called the Summonarium or something like that. I probably mispronounced it.
The trees of Mirkwood bring back memories of my younger days.
But if we have only 5 tutorials, we're clearly not going to make it all the way through the entire narrative in some extremely abridged version. And clearly, they've picked the narratives in such a way that we have different characters, different heroes, probably different cards. I guess, and I've never considered this before, the Lord of the Rings establishes a trope in that the bad guy is the same bad guy for the entire narrative, where Harry Potter, having multiple separate books, follows up on that trope quite a bit, in that Voldemort is the bad guy in every single Harry Potter story. It's probably a bad trope, though. I think it would make a lot more sense to establish a hero in the first book with one bad guy, 1, 2, or 3 bad guys he's fighting in the first book, and then the second book giving a whole new collection of bad guys, and it's evolving the hero. So we're supposed to fend off the creatures of the night for 4 rounds. We have a snake, rock adder that doesn't have any text, and then a muck adder attacks a character with the lowest current health points. So it's going to just keep on targeting this one. And then the creatures of the night is a locked timed, which does, we're just going to have to wait 4 turns. Okay. And every turn he's going to add a new character, so there's only so much we can do. Let's see. Adds +1 to attack the first time a character takes damage this round. No text on him. Steals resources from Sauron. Okay. Muck-Adder likes to attack the character with the lowest health. Luckily, you have a way to influence enemies' attacks using defense and guard. Defense and guard are among the most important concepts in the game. Let's explore them further. I don't see anything here that says defense or guard at all. Glowing, right-click glowing to see his card detail view. A defense grants a character the guard keyword until they take an action or they take an action or are attacked. To activate this ability for glowing, left click the defense button. Why is it here? What? Why is the button just like totally not connected? Like, I see a defense button, yes, but it's way down here. And I guess I have to click this. Alright, now I can click it. Well, this is very weird that the defense button is down here. It's almost as if they're trying to make this so that you could play it on a tablet and your thumb would only have to stretch so far in this direction or so far in these directions. But honestly, you still would have to click and drag cards in the middle quite a bit. So, effectively, I assume this is the equivalent of turning a card sideways and putting it in a defense mode. Melee attacks can only be directed at units that have guard activated. So can all cards have guard activated? It seems like that is the case. When units have the guard keyword activated, which is not written anywhere, so it's really not a keyword, at least that's the way it's being depicted here, any melee attacks can only be directed at them. When the units with guard active are attacked in melee, they deal their attack value, which would be 2, in reciprocal damage. Yeah. There is always this desire in real-world card games to have a card that is all art, but then you have to make a card that has also a description of their attack and their keywords and any special abilities they have. So it's almost like you would want a card sleeve for every card to have the attack and the descriptions, and then the art portrait could just slide out from it and become something smaller. But it's kind of impossible to do that in the real world, or they've yet to figure a way to do it in the real world. I suppose you could probably make like 2 decks completely, but that would be difficult. Or you put the description of a card on the back and the picture of the card on the front. Which maybe that would work too. Actually, that would be your best solution, really. Have all the cards just be 100 artistic. You could put it on the wall, put it in a picture frame on one side, then flip it over to see the instructions and the description of what it does, and then when you're drawing cards from your deck and shuffling, cards in official tournaments would have sleeves over the back or sleeves over the artwork to hide what it was. So there would be this face down aspect, unless you can figure out a way to make a card game where you don't have to hide what a card is at all. Chess effectively shows the entire playfield always, so there's no secrets in chess. If you could make a card game like that, that would be amazing. I'm supposed to be learning how to play this game though, not just mindlessly thinking. After a unit with guard is attacked or exhausted, the guard effect ends.
We will face them together, old friend.
Some units have conditional abilities. Gimli gains attack bonus for the first time a character takes damage each round. So this ability is activated when Glorian was damaged. Let's see. Right click to see his card detail view. Okay, you can see it. Use Gimli to defeat the rock adder. I mean, that's pretty much all you can do. So he's going to throw a muck at her. Now, finish the round. On your turn, you can use Bilbo to take an action or play a card from your hand. So I could steal 1 to 3 resources from Sauron to use this power. How do I use the power, though? And can I go into defense mode? Power. Steel. How do you activate his power? Does that happen? Exhaust one ally for 0. Ready a different character. It's probably not a terrible thought. But I could just attack. Yeah, I think your best bet is probably to do this. That didn't steal his energy though. At all. Exhaust one ally. Oh, I guess you'd exhaust your ally and then de-exhaust another ally. So I don't think there's a reason to do that. And he just has to pass at that point. Okay. Then I can attack this. And I guess maybe what I'm trying to do here is create a scenario where I am destroying his like destroying his hand so he doesn't have a lot of cards to play. Creatures of the night is locked in a timed objective. This means you can't interact with it. Instead, it counts down by 1 automatically into each round until it resolves. Fend off creatures of the night for 3 rounds. See, that seems like that's the end of that. But see, he draws 5 more cards, and I don't know if he has any maximum number of cards. He may literally just be spawning in infinite numbers of spiders. Okay. I could play this to have guard. Or I can simply just put this in guard mode. When the units with the guard keyword enter play, they activate the defense as a free action. Play Forest Protector to see how guard keyword functions. I was just trying to play there. Since Forest Protector had guard active, Forest Spider couldn't attack any other target and also suffered reciprocal damage. Now, secret path here would apply to progress. Continue playing through this round. Remember, each time you take an action, Sauron can take 1 in response. Which arguably means that I should probably just end the turn. If I just ended the phase now and held on to this, this would go down 1, then my next action would be to do this. I wouldn't be at full health or anything like that, but if you otherwise just want to play, you do that, he's going to throw another monster at you. Then you do that. Still don't know how to activate this guy's power. Then yeah. Do that. protect allies with low health. You can activate defense on other characters.
I depart for the west. He looks more like a grocer.
That was the first time I think we've had a character die, but maybe not. Enemies can have guard keyword too. It functions the same as with your characters. Got just another achievement. Or I'm making progress to achievements. Maybe I'm actually only making progress towards achievements. That is something they added to Steam. And it can be very confusing to see the pop-ups and then not see an achievement unlocked on the first action. Fend off the creatures of night for 2 rounds. When the units with the guard keyword are ready during upkeep, they activate defense as a free action. Some units have ranged keyword. Play Jar Wolf to see how that functions. We've seen ranged before. The unit with the range keyword ignores guard when attacking. Use Jar Wolf to ignore the spider guard and attack the Muck Adder instead. So we're just following the tutorial when we could just win by playing this. And at this point, the game I think doesn't care if I win, so let's just go ahead and win. Why can I not activate Secret Path? I feel like the game is intentionally telling me no. And same is true here, even though this makes sense, we can't play this, we don't have the resources. We do have the resources for this. Maybe we're supposed to hold on to Secret Path a little longer. But anything... See, did he steal any resources? You'd think the phrase steal resources would imply that I would gain them, not just remove them. Grant plus resource to Sauron for each of... Well, what was that card? Eyes of the Forest grant +1 resource for Sauron for each ally in play. Limit 3 per players. So he got 3 resources because I had more than 3 allies in play. Okay. So it really wants me to just keep on playing. And really does not want to allow me to do that. Fend off the creatures for 1 round. I guess my exact quote here is to... The quest is not to win completely, it's to fend off the creatures for 1 round. Then previously that was 2 rounds. Some cards like Jar Wolf are unique. Where's the unique icon? Is that what this symbol means? This means you can only have 1 of them in play at a time, which that simplifies a deck building game quite a bit compared to generic rules where you can just have 3 cards. Usually is the maximum in most card games. 3 copies of the same card on the field or in the deck. Although you have a deck of 30, so even if the rules don't explicitly say you can only have 1 card on the field each time, having a deck of like 15 of the exact same card would be weird. Plus, remember this is a deck building game, so there are no booster packs. You wouldn't get extra versions of cards anyways. The only way you could do that would be to buy an entire deck twice over and then mix and match the cards and I wouldn't be surprised if that is specifically stated as against the rules. It definitely feels like something that would be cheating if you did do that. But if there are only 300 cards in the game, then statistically speaking, it would be easy to figure out which is the best cards to have in the game. It's not even difficult to figure out without using statistics, just what costs the least and gives you the most attack and health and willpower combined. Okay, so we can only have one of them on the field. If your units have the flying keyword activated, these are some very basic keywords. You cannot target them with melee actions, however you can use ranged attacks and other flying units. This is all stuff that would have been really big keywords in like first generation Magic the Gathering games or decks. Although flying and ranged probably not used that often in modern Magic the Gathering cards. They do exist certainly, but not as big of a deal. Use Jarworth to defeat the Bat Swarm. Okay. Some units have the Revenge keyword, which triggers an effect when the unit is defeated. In this case, Revenge was to summon a Black Forest Bat. Black Forest Bat have flying, but nothing else. Exhausted units cannot have flying activated while exhausted units land and can be attacked like any other target. That's easy to deal with then. At this point we can't play Secret Path and we really wouldn't want to. So I'm just playing an enemy that can affect threat. This is a good time to learn about threat and the threat meter. Yeah, so we've been seeing these cards with these threat numbers. I don't know what any of that has to do with anything though. Threat is a measure of the risk you face during a quest. Sauron directs more attention towards you as the number grows. If you reach 50 threat, your quest fails. So this definitely feels like this is a attempt to be like the Eye of Sauron, just like the implication being in the Lord of the Rings that the closer the main protagonist became threats, the more they became a threat to Sauron, the more Sauron threw stronger and stronger enemies after him, which I guess supposedly implies that Sauron was fighting off other protagonists that weren't as well focused on or mentioned. Yeah, that would be a very interesting twist if on the other side of Mount Doom there was a whole nother nations fighting him and he was taking a multi-bordered war against multiple people, or if he was in some kind of magical battle in an unseen dimension with somebody else and he was fighting and moving his attention to that a lot. You instant lose when the threat hits 50 though, so I guess that just tells you not to play too many cards on the field. That being said, I don't know how you would even get to 50. Like, we've got a character here with 10 and 11, so you would have to have like 5 or 6 heroes of your 7 cards on the field. And I don't know what the benefit of increasing the threat level would be for us. Otherwise we would just always try to play it pretty low. Your starting threat is equal to the combined threat value from your 3 heroes you bring on the quest. You may right click any of your heroes to see their threat value in the top left corner. We've been looking at that, but once again I'll show it off. Normally your starting threat is calculated at the start of the quest, but we'll do it now. We're at 29. Does that add up? 8 plus 11 is 19, plus 10 is 29. During your quest, you gain 1 threat at the end of each round, like Spies of Shadow, and you can even add even more. At the end of each round, you get a threat, so it's a timer effectively. You can't take too many rounds. I don't think you take that many rounds anyways. The threat meter contains threat events, malicious effects that Sauron uses to harm or hinder you in your journey. Each triggers on upkeep the round after the threat level reaches the threat events value on the meter. In this case, it seems like at the end it adds 1 threat to you, but I don't know what the threat event is. It doesn't seem to really be one. The threat meter contains threat events. It's not really showing me any threat events. Apparently there's also a fate meter, which unlocks fate events. So somewhere before 50 there was a threat event. Most quests have at least 3 threat events. Let's add some for you to look over and get the idea of what they're like. Ah, now they're here. In the threat meter, click the threat event to view details. So, unexpected company. The creatures before you are more than enough to occupy your attention, so the sudden arrival of yet another giant spider is like some cruel joke. You definitely are not amused, so a giant spider summons at 30, so we can look forward to that. Deal 2 damage to up to 3 different random characters. As if the spiders weren't battle enough, thorny vines hide in the underbrush, tear through your clothing and draw blood, or still the fresh crimson reinvigorates the foes and makes them strike with increasing ferocity. That's a 37 threat. And then, weak from exhaustion, grant +1 energy cost to the player's cards this time, so everything becomes more expensive. Each new step you take is harder than the last as the unending scramble through your rugged terrain saps your strength. Okay. So we can look forward to extra challenges, which is going to complicate the whole situation. And I assume now the threat meter and the fate meter are just going to be on the screen, so now the whole screen is going to feel a little less empty. Now weirdly, it seems like it just ends there. You would kind of expect something more. Your quest fails if you reach 50 threats, so it's important to keep track of the total and control it when you can. Don't forget to defeat Spiders of Shadow before the end of the round to avoid the extra threat. Well, that's what I was trying to do. But I can't, can I? I can't play this. I can make it not attack. So, we'll put that in defense mode to defeat that. There are no available targets when this happens. It's often a good idea to put a character on guard. Remember to do so. You right click the character, then left click the defense button. Okay, now we have upkeep grant +1 resource to Sauron. Let's see if we can do do something about that. Well, interestingly, it does seem like I can get rid of 2 progress on that without affecting that. So the timed ones can't be skipped using secret path. This can. So then it's just going to come down to hitting this first and see if he plays something else. When units have the guard keyword active, not only can't you make melee attacks to anyone else, you can't also engage any objectives. So secret path won't work. This guy is down to 1 card. But he's going to draw 5 more cards. And so now we're at 30 threat because a round went forward. You've completed the goal for this location. Travel now to avoid the looming threat. So this would start right now because we're at 30. Looming threat. Where is this even being shown? Locked. End +1 threat increases by +1 threat every round. So the looming threat is just going to increase the amount of threat even faster. If you don't travel promptly after completing a location goal, you draw Sauron's ire in the form of the looming threat, a locked hazard that produces an increasing amount of threat every round. So would there really be any reason to not travel quickly? I mean, we could spend resources and put something on the field right now, but why even do that? Like, this is not a card you would want to play, and this is not a card you'd want to play. There might be a reason. You can't engage or resolve the looming threat. The best way to deal with it is to simply avoid it. Travel before it appears. So here's the Eye of Sauron reference. When you travel, any readied enemies can attack and trigger end effects trigger. So it's a good idea to neutralize enemies and remove the end effects before you travel. This guy just has guard though. The giant spider is a problem. Use Jarwar to deal with it. Why? Why is he a problem? I have no idea, but whatever. Since Jarwar made a ranged attack, the reciprocal damage from giant spider's guard ability didn't trigger. Okay, good to know. Go ahead and play Woodland Courier. I don't know why I'm playing Woodland Courier. More progress towards another achievement. You can use willpower for more than just engaging objectives. You can also use it to trigger fate events or Arcus effects that aid you on your quest. Interesting. Well, how much willpower do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Not 12. Fate meter shows any available fate events. Most quests have at least 3. Let's add 1 now for you to check out. 2. In the fate meter, click the fate event to view its details. River Daughter's Aid. Gain 1 Daughter of Nimrodel. The Woodland Realm is a place of peace, and within the otherwise foul borders of Mirkwood, the elves venture regularly from this sylvan home, patrolling the rest of the wood to offer protection and succor to all who they meet. So you feel no small amount of relief when the Daughter of Nimrodel emerges noblessly from the surrounding gloom. Sucre usually is like food, water, maybe housing. This is a 0 attack, 0 willpower, 3 health card that restores 2 health to a hero when you use the power. I'm still not sure how to activate powers, though. So we have to click on it again to get the next prompt. Because it's like, you're supposed to read this, you're supposed to click the checkbox, and then you're supposed to do the item, but clearly the game isn't stopping me from moving out of order, and then it just leaves you in this kind of confused state where you can't do everything, and you're not really sure what you are supposed to do. I would potentially blame Asmodee Digital on that. Like I said at the very first episode, they're known for making mediocre at best interfaces in games. They're not great at programming, making games based on real-world games, tabletop games. Trigger the Fate event requires willpower and action. You can add a character's... As an action, you can add a character's willpower to the Fate mirror. Let's try it now. Right-click Woodland Courier to open the card detail view. And now all of a sudden we have a second option. Interesting. To add this character's value to the Fate mirror, either left-click the Fate button or simply drag the character's cameo to the Fate mirror. So drag this all the way here. Drag this all the way here. I guess again you have to just click OK. So you could drag it this way, like that. So I assume these activate at the beginning of the next turn. You spent your previous turn adding Fate to the Fate meter. Now let's use it to trigger the Fate event. In the Fate meter, click River Dottie's Aid and open the detail view, then click Confirm to trigger the event. So there's a confirm button down here. It's kind of an awkward place for it to be, but whatever. Again, have to do it like that. Triggering a Fate event is a free action. You can still take a regular action. Go ahead and play Daughter of the Nimrodal. I wasn't really expecting that card to have a voice acting line. I imagine that's going to be somewhat repetitive voice acting that's said every time it's played. And we have a full board, as it seems, with 7 characters. Some cards have the special ability called a power. Right click to open Daughter of Nimrodal's detailed view. Power is unique ability that can activate once per round. So we've had a power for a while now, we just haven't been able to activate it. Use the right click, then the red button to activate Daughter of Nimrodal's power to heal a character. So now there is a third prompt, and it is just in this awkward position. Overall, I kind of like the whole cards to be over here. Being right-handed, and most people being right-handed, it would make more sense for the buttons to be closer to the in-phase button. Okay. Store health. Using the power is an action and exhausts the character unless the card text states otherwise. This is where you get into the danger zone of card games anyways, is once you start saying unless the card text states otherwise, then you don't have a solid enough rule that you can maintain throughout a deck building game. Of course, in a collectible card game, the rules are always evolving and changing, so unless otherwise stated, it should just be the default concept for any main instructions. If you need resources to play more cards, Bilbo can steal them from Sauron. You may right-click Bilbo to use this power. But if I was to use this power, I don't think I would get any abilities.
Takes me back to my old days as a burglar.
Yeah, I don't think I got any resources there. We completed the goal for this location. Travel now to avoid the looming threat. Yeah, these characters are all exhausted. There really wouldn't be a reason to do anything else. I kind of feel like there would have just been a different scenario at some point where you would have had some resources for me to actually steal.
The creature hesitated. It would have struck without mercy.
We've got a pop-up here that's
glitched. The creature feared the strength of wolves. Fortunately, it knew of a safer way to snare its prey. For the creature had made friends in the forest over the years. It had learned their chittering tongue, and they'd helped each other in dark deeds. Noiselessly under shadow of boughs, the creature slid off to the lady of the nearby wood. Tasty flesh it would offer her. For himself, the creature desired a tiny thing. A trinket, the smallest of things.
So yeah, the whole story kind of comes off like Gollum is supposed to be the main antagonist of the entire Lord of the Rings story, and he kind of isn't. He is the small threat, and then Sauron is the giant threat, and then there's some medium threats that show up now and then but aren't consistent. And we can see we've already seen a glitch here on top of just some confused pacing and path tracing of the tutorials, but straight up have the pop-up here just hovering. Now I thought we may just be done with the quest because of that dialogue, but I guess not. So we're an hour in, potentially would be a point to take a break and end the episode, but I'm not sure I really want to do that. So let's see if we can just power through this fight fairly quickly. Some Fate and Threat events only appear at a single location. Be on the lookout for them. They can make a big difference in how easily you can progress through the location. Although inherently you're probably not going to go through a location multiple times or do the tutorial or a simple scenario multiple times. Unless you just really love this card game. Which, so far, it looks like a fine card game, but it's just not, like, that complicated, so I couldn't really see playing it more than once. So, if we get 4 Fate, we can draw a card. Just when things look dire indeed, assistance arrives from an unexpected source. And then summon 2 muck adders. You've heard the term nest of vipers used as an insult. As adders slither from their lair hissing with menace, you would have been happy to never see it literally. Okay. That's gonna happen in like 3 turns. Meanwhile, we have a lot of things. Upkeep 1 rock adder enters play. So we're just going to add more rock adders each turn. We really have a reason to try and get through this fight as quickly as possible. Which you could do, just like 1 turn in general, focus all your attention on this. And then that may get you through the whole location. To spot them on the meter, look for a reverse color scheme. Yep. And a square black plate. Yeah, so they're square back plates, not black plate. Oh, okay. Misread that word. Sometimes a location-specific threat event will share a position with a standard one. The two will overlap, but you can only view and play them separately. Interesting. The majority of your cards belong to one of 4 spheres of influence. Each sphere has a particular area of emphasis. Leadership represents the ability to inspire and command others. This sphere focuses on gaining resources and playing allies. Leadership cards are the jack of all trades but master of none. So that's where this symbol here is, as far as the leadership symbol. Which means basically there's only 4 character classes in this game. And they don't really seem to mean that much anyways. Love. Lore, not love. That makes more sense that it's a book. Represents wisdom and specialized knowledge. This sphere focuses on healing characters, exhausting enemies, and managing your card draw. Lore cards have decent attack, but low health in general. Spirit, that's what the star is, represents the strength of will and aspects of the supernatural. This sphere focuses on managing threat, action manipulation, and building combos. Spirit cards have strong willpower but low attack. Okay. And then tactics is the sword. Tactics represent martial prowess and tactical skill. This sphere focuses on combat and managing direct damage. Tactics cards have strong attack but low willpower, which honestly doesn't make the most amount of sense, because you'd think that somebody willing to swing a sword and kill somebody would probably have pretty good willpower. Although I guess the idea is that in the Lord of the Rings universe, willpower has more to do with not being tempted by Sauron and the One Ring than it has to do with just general willpower to accomplish your goal. Some player cards are neutral. They belong to no sphere of influence and can be included in any deck. Interesting. So potentially there are going to be some deck building rules that show you can't play with certain cards. It is a weird universe, the Lord of the Rings, in that Sauron seems to be capable of getting into the mind and the head of anybody, and is just this kind of ephemeral devil-like creature that can corrupt the mind of every single person on the planet except for the hobbits and Bilbo, a couple of the hobbits, really, just 2 hobbits in the entire Hobbit and Lord of the Rings books, which then makes this weird argument that everyone is fairly easily corruptible in general, and that gives little hope for the world of the Lord of the Rings. So, yeah. So power would grant 1 resource. We have 7 resources. Do you have a maximum on resources? I wouldn't be surprised if it's 9 if there's nothing else. Right. I think what you may find is that Spear Wall, reducing the amount of attack on 4 cards or even 3 cards, he's probably your best bet. There is, I suppose, a possibility that you might want to wait one turn and then play Spear Wall. I don't know why I can even play this though. This seems to weirdly be in the wrong place. Okay, well, start with this. One more. This guy's gonna die if I'm not careful. I think I clicked the wrong button. I clicked the wrong button there. That was totally not what I was trying to do. I was trying to put this guy in defense. I was trying to put a character in defense mode. And then we do that and we completed the quest.
Brought a familiar stir Bilbo's heart. He paused,
So that was
remembering times and
an easy victory, perhaps too easy.
He sighed, breaking his own reverie. Suddenly, silent, Arwen strode onto the path. Behind her was another elf who Bilbo had not met before. The way they appeared suddenly unnerved Bilbo. But if the dwarves had any reaction, they kept it to themselves.
Greetings, friends.
She said.
This is Rosia of the Woodland Realm.
What happened to Legolas?
Asked Bilbo. Arwen smiled, nodding her head.
The Force has become unsafe. He carries word of this back to the Elven King.
We must make our way to Bjorn's Hall and report the same.
Glowing out.
Let us make haste.
Bilbo went to take up his pack, only to discover that it was missing.
Stars! I've misplaced my pack. My sword as well. I must find them.
He fumbled subconsciously with the ring that he once wore around his neck, but was no longer there.
So are we gonna have another challenge? Doesn't seem like it. It seems like you just get a story at the beginning, in the middle, and the end. And now we've unlocked another deck, which you can't look at here. We'll look at it elsewhere. Yeah, it kind of felt like maybe they had set it up so that I could have played that tutorial a little bit longer and then moved the fate events and the other events faster, but I just played too well. Of course, yeah, having now done 2 of these tutorial measures, it does seem like playing on advanced might make some sense if you want some extra challenge. Standard, you gain 3 resources and draw 2 cards for a round roll. Sauron gains 3 resources and draws a full hand. Advanced, you gain 3 resources and draw only 1 card per round, while Sauron gains 4 resources and draws a full hand. In Expert, you gain 3 resources and draw 1 card, while Sauron gains 5 resources and draws a full hand. Which that could be some pretty big difference there. Then I guess we have to click all the way back up to the top here. Show off this new deck, and we really can't do the best job of showing off this pre-built deck. I assume these are going in order, so I'm assuming that this is the new deck that we just got. Unfortunately, there's just not a good way to show it off. So we had the starter deck, we had the explorer deck, and now we have the battle deck. That's pre-built decks. We do now have Sauron's gallery. So now that we've done the tutorial a little bit, we've seen cards that Sauron exclusively plays, but we can't play them ourselves. So you just have two decks, as it were. And then card gallery maybe mixes both types of cards, both the hero cards and the villain cards, the Sauron cards, in one location, although it doesn't really mix the heroes and the secondary cards that way. And so far we have not unlocked anything else. 2 tutorials in. We haven't unlocked any new frames or avatars or emotes or card backs. I'm hoping all of that unlocks when we start to play the single player adventures. I'm hoping we can do adventures, campaigns, and encounters, and we start getting fellowship points for all of that, and then that will unlock everything. Next time we will do nuanced concepts, but then we also have deck building and then flight through the darkness, so there is still a lot of tutorial stuff alone to do. And then it's taken 2 hours to do just tutorial 1 and tutorial 2, so you're really getting like screwed as far as the 2 hours no questions asked refund policy on Steam. So best thing I guess I could say is probably jump into a quick play game. Don't do the tutorial first. If you're going to play this game, is just do a random skirmish and try to play for an hour and see if you can figure it out before you start to do the tutorial, because you'll have the full set of things, options in a quick play skirmish, where you don't have the full set of options in the tutorial. They're slowly unlocking options. Alright, well, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to support me further, there's a link to some support sites down below in the description. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.